All right, everybody, welcome to this October program for our section, the Vermont ASQ section. We'll be hearing from Dan Feliciano. He's on our leadership team as membership chair and kind of is our technology guru, kind of the pioneers a lot of stuff that we hear about later when he comes up for air and tells us about what he's been doing. But he's been kind to give us some time this month and talk about where AI and automation are, and he's got some interesting angles and perspectives. He did do one program before this on it to just introduce it to it, just before Dan, our speaker. There's a nice picture of Dan. This was in the flyer that went out, but he is owner and founder of OpEx 90 is what he calls his company. He's accomplished business executive, transformation executive, highly regarded for leading organizations for some time now. He's been out here for a while, and how they transform their services and cutting edge solutions. And obviously AI fits very nicely into that. You can see some of the organizations he's been involved in, and as we do know, he's in constant pursuit of leveraging technology. He'll say a little bit more about himself, and you can read this further. But Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you and thank you for doing this. And so the floor is yours. Why don't you start sharing, and I'll tell you if it comes up, and we'll get into it. Thank you all for attending. The session is being recorded, so you are aware of that.
All right, did you just get my screen to share?
Yeah.
There might be a lag in there. Up share, let's see. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yeah, it is popping up, yeah.
All right, great. So let's just get grounded here. Again, I'm Dan Feliciano. But I want to start with setting the groundwork here for some of the things. We all know what is non-value added. So someone, open up that chat, don't be shy. When we say non-value added, what do we mean in our world? And this whole presentation is focused towards ASQ members, but it applies to any type of business or organization. So when we say non-value added, what is it we're talking about? And I can't see the chat window in there, so.
Yeah, I just popped something in there. I'll try to see if we can read that here.
Wasted time, materials, something the customer does not pay for.
It's interesting because as we think about non-value added activity and work, people get offended. I was working on a client site, and we defined non-value added as we traditionally do, as it's always been defined, and it's any activity and task that doesn't change the form, fit, or function of a product and service that the customer is not willing to pay for. So if you are in a role and you are not directly involved with creating the product and service that the customer uses, it's non-value added. And this was at a big I probably shouldn't say that. People will boo me for it, but it was at a gas plant where they were making fuel. It was a petrol plant where they make fuel, and it was the maintenance department. The maintenance department took great offense, and they brought in the union because we defined their role as non-value added, and they had to agree to it. So when you think about businesses, we typically say that only 5% of the time of an activity actually taking place, regardless if you're producing a widget, if you're completing someone's taxes, only 5% of the time are we adding value to it. Everything else is non-value added, right? And what is waste?
Hey,
we talk about waste.
You want your video on?
Excuse me?
Do you want your video on?
Oh, I don't care.
It's on. It's fine.
Yeah.
And Rebecca also added anything the customer doesn't want or need, both internal and external customers.
Right. Yep. So when we think about it in waste, there's all these different definitions of waste in a process. So why do I bring that up, right? Well, we're going to talk about AI and automation. Automation has been around for a long time. So I put that at the end of the list. But now we're seeing those two, an interjection of those two together. So we understand what non-value added is. And guess what? When I was at GE, I was a master black belt there. I had a whole team of black belts and green belts. We were non-value added. So, quality teams, you're non-value added, right? So we have to be very careful. Any of the marketing and sales, non-value added, project management, non-value added. So all these activities and tasks add costs to a business, and we know that businesses are coming under fire. When we think about what's taking place in the industry right now, we have low unemployment rates, right? So it's harder to find people. It's costing us, the cost of services going up. We understand there's supply chain issues. So if we can't get people and our costs are going up, we're going to have to strive to figure out how to be more productive. And can AI and automation help us, or why would companies adopt it if it didn't help us? I want you to think for a second. I've been following what's happening in the UK. In the UK, they're going to pass, it looks like they're going to pass this Bill of Rights, this Workers' Bill of Rights. In the UK, it's going to be near impossible to fire someone. It's going to give the unions as much leverage as the company in understanding of the workforce. They're already in the UK, they're saying about 60% of their businesses are small businesses that can't really adopt these practices. So we have to be careful of what's going on around us. So I want you to think about these questions right here, because I hear every day, and it breaks my heart, people like, AI is a fad. It's not going to affect me. I'm not bothered learning. I'm not going to learn it unless my company pays for me to learn it. But I want you to think about some of these questions here, and how do these resonate with you? How confident are you your current skill set will be relevant in 5 years as more industries and competitors automate their critical processes? If you're lagging, where do you think this is? In 2 years, AI has advanced significantly to the point where I can't believe the automations that I'm capable of doing. If AI can make decisions 10 times faster and more accurately than you, how much of your daily work still matters? I'm a firm believer, and for those of you who are project managers out there, close your ears. I'm a firm believer that we can get rid of 90% of the project managers out there. It's a non-value added task. They don't touch the customer. If they're reporting metrics and keeping track of things, those things can be automated and systemized, and we can have process improvement on top of that. And then, you can go through and read the rest of your list. How many of you out there believe your job will not be affected by AI? That, nope, there's no way it can be done. There's no way AI can do my job. Well, unfortunately, I can't see the chat, and I'm hoping that all of you realize that if you're on here, you can be effective. If you're a non-value added activity and task, you can be affected by it. AI and automation combined with advanced data analytics and AI agents is going to change how we do our work. Now, let's think about this, right? AI adoption, right? AI adoption has been massive across the industries, right? 80% of the businesses have adopted it. You're seeing now where businesses have AI. You can have Chat GPT, for instance, on a computer running, and you can have it as an impartial observer and ask it questions. It's listening, it's categorizing, it can provide feedback and comments as you go along, right?
We have
32%.
Matt asking if AI can attend meetings in his place. He'd happily
Yes.
give up that part of his job.
Oh, absolutely. So there is an app coming out right now called Limitless, and Limitless will listen to the meeting. It recognizes the voices when people does introduction. It will get a full transcription, summarize, and take away the action items. Absolutely. So you'll see a lot of that coming coming to fruition. And then 52% of the organizations are actively using AI. They're using it in one way or another. Now, when we think about AI, I'm going to define it here in a second, but I was just laying the groundwork for you. And then why are companies doing this, right? They need to reduce their costs. They can automate some of these key processes. Just think about the use of chatbots. I was talking to someone who said, oh, no, chatbots aren't going anywhere. People want to talk to people. I said, okay, maybe our generation, if you're 55 or greater, maybe you want to talk to a person. But the new generation of workers and kids, they won't even answer their cell phone. They're going to use chat and they text message one another. So for them to use a chat bot, it's just like texting one another. So I think you need to be more forward thinking in that case. Advances in AI are increasing rapidly. I have a product that I use that's out in California. It's mainly written for writing sales copy and analytics, but they developed a new algorithm where it can create a large language model, which AI uses these things called a large language model. It reduces the amount of energy it takes to train an AI model, and now it can do it on a CPU instead of a GPU. A CPU is what you have in your computer. A GPU is that graphics processing unit, which a lot of you heard Elon Musk bought like all of them to create his Grok AI. And I think a lot of companies are using it for competitive pressure. The AI bots and things like that are the way of the future. So that previous slide right here, you see this? Let me go back to that previous slide. You see the slide here? There was a new app that came out 2 weeks ago called Napkin AI. I took this slide and I dropped it into Napkin AI, and here's what it created. So everything I just discussed, it put into these diagrams, which makes it, quite frankly, easier and more appealing. Would you rather see this? Or, if I was an eye doctor, is this better or is the first one better, right? So these are the kind of things and that AI can actually do and use for us. So let's think about AI so we can get into the demonstration here, right? It's these systems that have been trained on data so that it can regurgitate almost reason with information. Now, has anyone out there not used AI? So when I'm talking about AI, I'm talking about like Chat GPT, Grok, Gemini, Llama. I'm hoping all of you have taken the opportunity to get exposed to it and ask it questions, and you're going to see how that works. Machine learning has taken off. The problem with machine learning right now is as people are collecting data and putting it into these AI systems, as AI is crawling the data and trying to make sense of the data, it has to scrub the data and make some assumptions. What we're seeing now are forward-thinking companies that are saying, I want to rebuild my whole infrastructure, and I want to make sure I have standardized and normalized data to make it easier to train my AI models so that we can use that and do machine learning and do predictive maintenance. Automation is anything we can do to trigger a task. Now, there are automations. We've had automation forever, right? So we can manually trigger an event to happen. We might say, do this right now, and we can like write macros and do automations and things like that. And then we have scheduled automations at a certain period of time, at a certain time it can do something at the end of the month. If you're an accountant or bookkeeper, at the end of the month, I want you to run these reports and do these things. That would be like a scheduled event. And then it can be manually triggered. And I'm going to show you a manually triggered event that I have that's an automation that saves me time and money. Since we're talking about the world of quality and ASQ, predictive analytics comes into play largely here. If we have AI and it's been trained on our data, we can train AI on our own data and keep it private. McKinsey has done it with all their presentations. They have partnered with OpenAI to take all their proprietary information and build their own chat GPT that their employees can use. And imagine companies, manufacturers doing this to do predictive modeling. So we think about it, we can do data collection, we can extract the data from it, we can train the data appropriately. That's what the chatbots can be done. We can create all these predictive models. I know of a person that's creating is creating this new type of AI, which is similar to its agents and robotic processing, and they've been tweaking it to learn how to do stock trades. And slowly but surely, it doesn't trade every day. It's not a rogue trader, but they're getting about a 25 to 30% return on each stock trade just by having the model training and tweaking and stuff. They're not looking for an everyday trade. They're not looking to make millions, but they're doing some great stuff. And continuous improvement. As we collect data and use AI, we can do continuous improvement. It can identify opportunities and alert us to adjustments. Any questions about that? All right.
Yeah, how do you get started?
Yeah, how do we get started? That'll be another. You can get started by getting a subscription to any of these large language models. There's lots of them out there, and then creating your own chatbot with your own knowledge base and using that to answer questions. I'll show you my chatbot, and you're not gonna believe how awesome it is. Right? So in quality management, that's our audience. Handling customer inquiries, you can have your own internal private chat bot that can be trained to answer questions. That same person that I was telling you that developed the stock trading agent that's keeping track, well, he's a coder as well, and he hasn't done a good job on developing the documentation on how to use his function, the app and all its functions. He put the code into one of the large language models. I'm not sure if it was Chat GPT or not, and instructed it to, hey, write a description and definition of each of my functions and provide an example. So, bam, right there, right out of the bat, right, using the code that existed, he was able to write the appropriate documentation. So think about what you can do internally on your documents and procedures. Quality issue reporting, think about that also as project management reporting. You can have it understand, go out and grab data. Remember, I said you can have it scheduled. Is this task behind schedule? Yes. Oh, it's behind schedule. Let me alert the team and let me come up with an action plan. The AI can help develop a preliminary action plan for someone to vet. Document retrieval, of course, and then training and support. You'll see how my chat GPT, if I forgot how to do a particular tool or I can't describe it in a particular manner, I can go out and look at my bot and it's going to help us understand what's going on out there. So that's, how we can use these bots in our work. So if you want to get started, if you have standard operating procedures or work instructions, you can start putting these into your own chat bots. They're really cheap. You can have it trained. You can see the queries that have been asked, and you can define it. If you're seeing a query or a question being asked repeatedly, that might alert you to say, hey, maybe our instructions aren't as clear as they need to be here. Let's take a look at it and let's revamp that procedure. Anyone taking advantage of chatbots out there? No one using chatbots out there, really? Well, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for you. So this is a very, very exciting place to get started with, just with your knowledge base.
Helen indicated that she got one yes there in the chat.
Great.
Couple more.
It's really easy to do.
Yeah, Rebecca's saying yes, starting to. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we can use this AI for analytics as well. So once we start gathering our data and gathering it, we can run specific queries. I'm not here to promote products and things like that, and I don't even want to name the products, but I have a product that can go out and it looks at my Google Sheets, it can look at a database, it can search the web, and it brings back all that information. I've taught it how to bring it back and synchronize all that information. It didn't take long to do, and I can just ask it regular questions. How many people signed up for my October Greenbelt, my Greenbelt class that begins next week? And it will tell me how many people signed up for it. I can say, hey, what company are these people at? And it can look to see, oh, here's the where these people are employed. So it can aggregate all that data. There's other ones that are using it in marketing and looking at your marketing analytics. It brings it all together. Your marketing team can analyze that data. You have to keep in mind, humans aren't good at just looking at data and analyzing data, right? And understanding these complex correlations that might exist within our data. We're not good at identifying anomalies, especially if there's some sort of seasonal factor in it. We can't process big data, right? When we're looking at big data, our ability to consume it and then clean it and then analyze it is difficult. And then, of course, we can create real-time dashboards. These dashboards are being updated in real time so we can see there. Again, I want to come back to predictive analytics because to me, the predictive capabilities are huge. We're seeing if you do some queries online, you go online and use Google, we're seeing that even though we still have these supply chain issues that started before COVID, we're finding that these companies, these transportation companies, are starting to link their systems together and they can predict movements of supply and goods. Think about how important that's going to be right now of getting goods into Florida. These models have already been built. They can start tweaking these models. And I think we're going to be able to see Florida rebuilt like has never been possible before because of the predictive capability of AI, especially within the supply chain. We can do the same exact thing within our plants, within our organizations to forecast demand, to figure out resource allocation. Although in some companies, resource allocation is going to become difficult. Remember, in the UK, they have this bill coming in, and you're going to have to get union approval to change a person's role responsibilities to add things to it. So that's another reason to adopt AI and agents. Do maintenance scheduling and supply chain optimization. For quality improvement, we have process automation. We've lived with automation a long time, right? We have scales that can measure the density of a product or the weight of a product. We have smart sensors. We have imaging equipment. We can create a digital twin. A digital twin is a fabricated environment. We can develop a mathematical model of our processes. A digital twin will give us the ability to adjust factors in there and do basically design of experiments or simulation modeling. And then, of course, we have that automated reporting, right? So when you think about it, in manufacturing and in quality, we have quality control with AI, real-time automation. Just think about it. You get a batch of goods, and if you know what those goods are, you can have a visual system inspect it. The visual systems are better at inspecting than humans, I would argue, right? Because they can see things. Just think about what AI has done to the ability of identifying breast cancer. They say AI can identify breast cancer 5 years sooner than a trained doctor. That's freaking amazing. All right, automation. We're seeing this thing pop up all over, and I've left this slide intentionally vague. We're seeing these automation issues creeping up all over. So AI and automation goes together because guess what? Our automation, when something happens, now we can make it go against our known systems in our database and think about it and propose outcomes. So what we have is we have people out there starting these, they call them AAAs, AI automation agencies, right? So they're integrating AI and automation. They're starting these agencies and they're going out and helping companies automate their processes. Well, this is where us as quality professionals and Lean Six Sigma professionals have a huge advantage. What we're finding is that they're doing a poor job of understanding the process. They're not removing waste from the process. They're not doing a good stakeholder analysis and identifying the requirements. And these automation of these processes as well is they're just automating it so quickly. They're not capturing data along the way because they don't know what data to capture. They don't understand the future and the value of that data and how it needs to be used for machine learning. So I've been given this a lot of thought about how do we develop and improve these AI automation agencies so that they're more structured, that they understand what a SIPOC diagram is. They can identify the waste. They know how to engage all the stakeholders. They know how to collect and store the data and understand what to do with it. So this right here, the automation in conjunction with AI is going to be what I believe to be a huge opportunity, especially for the folks in the Lean Six Sigma world or the lean world that understand processes, that understand waste, that understand stakeholders, that understands analytics, and that understands machine learning. Questions? All right. So let's get into this. I'm going to do some demos here for us, right? And if there's something in particular you want to see or you have, pop it in that chat window. I'm trying to figure out how to get that chat window here. I'm not a WebEx user, so I'm trying to show all my windows here. Let me see what I can. Oh, whoa! I'm going to do this demo. Give me a second here. Can you see that? Am I still sharing my screen there?
Yes.
All right, beautiful. So I'm not sure. I can't get the these WebEx controls aren't working for me here, so I can't
Bottom
see.
right, there should be a little button that says chat, and you can click that and it'll pop up on the side.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not. I don't. Unfortunately, I can't see that. All I see are the speakers. So okay, so I can't. If there's something you want to see, let me know. So in quality, some of the basic tools we have is like create a Pareto chart. We can take a business case, and I'm going to show you how we're going to create a Pareto chart easily in Chat GPT. Cycle time analysis. Do I have to open up Excel? If I can just grab that data, if someone sent me the data, can I just grab it from an email and do a cycle time analysis and do some descriptive statistics with it? A fishbone diagram. Can I do? Is Chat GPT? I'm going to use Chat GPT, but all of them work the same. You can use Grok. You can use Gemini, you can use Llama, you can use Mistral. There's hundreds of models out there that we can use. A hypothesis test. Can we do hypothesis testing with ChatGPT and will it describe it for us? AI in Google Sheets. I understand Excel is coming along, but we can actually use AI within Google Sheets. So if you don't remember how to do a hypothesis test, you can just type in a command and bam, give it the data, and it's as long as you have the right prompt, it's going to do the test for you. And then I'm going to show you a strategy bot, some of the forward thinking things that AI can use. And I'm going to demonstrate to you when we talk about automation in businesses now, especially in smaller businesses, we can take a look at that and you'll see that they're using tools such as Zapier, which means we can have all these disparate systems. We might use QuickBooks. We might use Asana. We might have a SQL database over here. We might use Google Ads. It can bring it together and populate these systems. I'm going to show you just one tool that I use that when someone enrolls in one of my Six Sigma classes, the minute they enroll, it triggers an event. It gets their name, puts them in my email list, it puts them in my CRM, it puts them in a Google Sheet, and that Google Sheet is triggered to create a beautiful receipt with an email to them, and I can keep track of it. I don't have to do anything. It's all automated, and it lets me know what's going on there. And I'm going to show you how Google Sheets has some automation built into it. So let's do this. I am going to share a different screen. Let's see how I can flip screens here.
Yeah. Yeah, just reshare.
Yep, I'm going to click on share. I'm going to share my web browser. And here's where we're going. Let me move this out of the way. So
It's showing.
So you can see, so here you see a Google Doc, right? So this is an example from one of my Lean Six Sigma black belt classes. We just want to understand how can you set up a hypothesis test, right? So here we have, we want to test this psychic's ability to find water, right? They call it divine, right? Divine for water. So how would we actually go about structuring a test and understanding if it's actually possible? Now, some of you might say, hey, you know what? I forgot how to do this. But we can do this easily within Chat GPT. So watch this. I'm going to just grab this comment, right? I'm going to come over here into Chat GPT. You see, I'm in Chat GPT, folks, right? See that? I want to make
Yeah.
sure you can see.
Yeah,
You're following along. I'm going to paste that in there, right? I already know that it's been structured. I ran this already once, and I'm going to hit go, right? Now, ChatGPT has several models. This isn't the newest model. This is an older model of ChatGPT, but look what it's done already. This is incredible. It says to evaluate the claim and conduct a hypothesis test using that binomial distribution, right? Here is how we would actually go about structuring that, right? So here's how we set up our hypothesis test, and here's what it means. We're looking for a p-value of 0.5 in this case here. We're going to define our significance level, the number of trials. How are we going to set up this test? How are we going to calculate it to understand and calculate our metric so that we can get our p-value? And it goes all the way through. It tells us how to interpret the data and what the conclusion should be. So again, here we can say really quickly, here is the range that is going to be acceptable. If we get a result outside this range, we may not have a statistically significant test. So that is just one. That's a crazy example. In the past, ChatGPT couldn't get this answer right. Let's take a look at this one here. We have this create a Pareto chart. You're a member of this team, and we have some data here, and we want to use our very classic Pareto chart, right? So if someone gave us this data, right, and we want to create the Pareto chart, we don't have to take it, reformat the data, put it in Excel or a mini tab. Watch what we're going to do. We're just going to create this Pareto chart. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put it into Chat GPT. I'm going to create a new prompt here. I'm going to just pop it in here. And it says, this is called the prompt right here. Create a Pareto chart, right, for, this data here. And then watch what it's going to do. It goes through. It's looking and analyzing the data. And with the recent upgrade, the Chat GPT now spawns multiple agents so that it can think better. So this one's it's going to take a little time. Who knows how many people are on that system? There's our Pareto chart, right? So it generated the Pareto chart. Here's your Pareto chart of customer satisfaction. You can see that the most significant issues are quantity, start date versus promises, and completed runtime date. It even does a little further analysis for us. And what we can actually do here, and I'm going to, we'll just leave this alone. So you can see that we can take this, and it's interactive. We can actually make adjustments to it. We can come in here. If I wanted to double click in here, I can start changing the colors and things, or I can download that image. But that was a nice little example of some of the stuff that ChatGPT can actually do. Now here, we have another example here. Analyze the data before, provide a statistical summary. So we know that when the Lean Six Sigma world, we love our descriptive statistics, right? So what I have here is we have cycle time data in days. Let's just grab this and have Chat GPT analyze it for us, right? Since this is the industry we're in, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to create a new prompt. I'm going to say, pop it in here. And I'm saying, analyze, provide a statistical summary that includes the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and the Anderson-Darling test for normality. I just added that in there, and I haven't run this. And let's see what happens if we're going to get the data that we're actually interested in pursuing. So it's analyzing that data for us. And it's thinking. Here's your statistical summary. There's the data. The Anderson deviates from normality, right? So the data isn't normal. So the data is not normal. You know, us as statisticians, we know how to normalize the data, but this helps inform us of what kind of statistical test. If we were to use this, if we had to do a statistical test with this data, what type of statistical test? We could pop that in there, and it would tell us the kind of statistical test to do. So that's an example of how we can use that data. Now, again, I was working with a client, and the client made a particular product that they thought was unique in the marketplace, and they wanted to do a failure modes effects analysis, right? I'm assuming that many of you know what that is. That is a way of proactively identifying risks within a process. So I said, what is the product that we make? Give me some sort of description of that product, and let's see if Chat GPT can create an FMEA. When I did so, it created this FMEA for them, and they thought that I had created in advance. They're like, that's our process. And I'm like, well, your process is probably not that unique, actually, right? So it went out there and was able to do so. So here we're going to create a fishbone diagram. Let's see. I'm going to change this. This isn't correct. I'm going to put a 50% of our new healthcare claims are incorrectly denied. That's our problem statement, right? We know what a fishbone diagram is, don't we, folks? A fishbone diagram, also known as an Ishikawa diagram or a cause and effect diagram, is going to help us identify potential causes. We can use it for a brainstorming idea, brainstorming session. So let's put in here, create a fishbone diagram, and for this case, and I want it to be very creative. So right now, it doesn't know. If I had a case study or more information about my system or my process or the potential causes, I could put it in here and it would create a great fishbone diagram. Now, in my Lean Six Sigma training, we're starting, I believe that this was so important that we've incorporated how to use AI, because we know not everyone's going to refer to a manual. If you have the right Chat GPT set up, it's like having a master black belt standing over your shoulder. And I got pushback from Dartmouth. Dartmouth is my partner. They're like, nah, you know what? We're not interested in we don't think it's a good idea. We want people to understand the basics. I said, well, do people know how to make gasoline for their cars? Do they know how a radio actually works? Are we digging ditches with spoons? I said, if we want to be really concerned, let's give the students a problem, have them put it in Chat GPT, and keep asking questions until they get it right. That is how we can identify their critical thinking, right? So that's a way to think about it. So here, you can see it created the bones of a fishbone diagram. And I instructed it to give us a primary cause and a subcause. And without talking to someone, we could put this up on a board if we're doing this in real time, just to get people's juices flowing and start thinking about other things. So you can see process workflow issues, manual data entries. Now, this may or may not be right, but right here, remember, when we're brainstorming using a Pareto chart, we're just getting ideas on there. We can keep adding to this and adding to this. So,
Hey, Dean, I got a question for you.
yeah.
How would you approach training, AI to guide something like a 5 why investigation when, you're discovering as you go?
Mhm.
How would it, because I certainly see opportunity for it to guide decision making and not just do the administrative work for you. Um,
Mhm.
have you done something like that, or how do you use a tool like AI to be, like that subject matter experts next to you, guiding you how to conduct your 5 why investigation? Because that's
Yep.
an area a lot of people struggle with.
Sure. So let's do this, right? I'm copying this. I'm going to go into my chat bot, right? So this is my chat bot has been trained on over a half a gigabyte of information that I've created over the years. Many of the newer chat bots can be directed towards websites, and it crawls those websites and understands information. So I'm opening up my chat bot right here. Let me get this open. You should be able to see this. Let
Yes.
me open up my chat bot. Give me 1 second here. Uh, I'm going to put a new chat up. Hold on. I opened up the wrong window. So you see my chat bot here, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So in here, I can say, what are the steps? What are the steps involved? And remember, you can do this for anything. If you're an accountant, you can do this. If you're in marketing, you can do it. Involved in creating a fishbone diagram.
Fishbone?
Or
He
we
was
can do
asking
whatever.
about 5 why.
Oh, yeah, creating a 5 whys analysis. 5 whys analysis. Don't judge my typing. So now this is going out. I have it first. It goes out strictly on my trained data. If for some reason it doesn't find the steps in my trained data, it will search the web. So here you can see um, it says the 5 whys analysis is straightforward yet powerful root cause analysis method. Define the problem clearly that you're facing. Gather a team, assemble a team with diverse perspectives. Ask the first why. Start by asking, why did this problem occur? Write down the answer. This is your first layer of understanding. Ask subsequent whys. Take an answer from that previous step and ask, why did this happen? Right? So then you can see it provides the steps in how we can actually get there. And I can do this. I can say, provide a 5 whys example, create a 5 whys example, 5 whys example on an increase in denied claims. Now, it should go through, it knows what it just did. It should be able to give us some sort of artificial 5 whys analysis, right? And there you go, right? So in this case, I can use this to do, if I was working on a client site and they said, well, Dan, I don't do denied claims. I have something else. I'm like, all right, tell me what it is. I'll put it in here and we'll create a custom example of what's taken place here. So that is how you can use a chat bot and train a chat bot to provide an answer. Is there a particular type of quality or Lean Six Sigma statistical question someone wants me to drop in here? And someone would have to read the question to me because I cannot see the chats.
No, nothing yet.
Nothing. So that's an example. You can, if you forgot how to do a hypothesis test or how to create a control chart, these bots, you can train it to do so. Now, I think one of the things you can do with these chat bots is you can create a personal chat bot on a hobby or an interest, and these bots are getting better and better every day, and you can use it to answer calls. Now, in conjunction with AI and automation, a lot of these AI apps will gather the information received from you. And there's the advent of this thing called a vector database, which takes messy data and it can create a really nice structured database and keep track of things. So you can keep, for instance, meeting minutes in it and transcriptions with who said what, and it will anticipate what a person's going to say. So there's all this great stuff that you can do by training these chatbots. We don't have any questions or anything for a chatbot here that we want to see,
Well,
or
yeah, I'll
something we
follow
want to
up
see
on.
in Chat GPT.
Yeah, I'll follow up on your question about Lean or Six Sigma question. Obviously in Six Sigma, you're trying to understand the impact of process variation on output variation, right? And
Yep.
try to tame the process variation and to tame your output variation. And I guess what sometimes I see people struggle with is what kind of variation should we be looking for? If you just take a topic like could material variation be doing it? Well, what do I look at about material variation? I guess I'm looking to see how AI can begin to be wise
Yep.
about that, and so that when you have a lot of people in a company doing corrective actions, not everyone's going to know everything they need to know about all these kinds of variation. But that's where I'm thinking about AI being that subject matter expert standing right next to you to guide you. I can understand how you could get steps and things and how you do
Yep.
something,
Yep.
but how do you get it to explore things and offer suggestions as you should check this out, check that out?
Yep. So here's what forward thinking companies are doing. They're revamping their data collection and their processes, and think about it almost as if they're making an airplane part, where you have total traceability. So for every product they're making, they understand the raw materials, where they came from, when they came in, the batch and lot sizes. We can capture all that data very easily, they're tracking everything. And this product was made on this machine at this date by this team using these raw materials, right? And then it can, as they're going through the process and they're capturing all this data, they're getting a whole life cycle of the products, the end products that are made, and they can batch them together and they can start to study the variation that occurred. Was this because of a batch that occurred over here that had this intrinsic value? So it is coming. Right now, it's messy because we don't have a lot of good structured data when these automations were created and the data wasn't standardized or normalized. But I know of a company in particular that's doing just this. They're going to have extreme traceability of every single widget produced, including the variation in batches, to see if that variation is leading to defects or if a combination of variation is leading to defects. And that's going to be all done with machine learning because it would be too much data for someone to solve. All we'll know is this went bad, and it's going to trace it all back, and it's going to say, oh, here's what we found.
Okay,
So
we have a
someone, I just,
question.
yep.
We have a question from Steve. Can AI watch a live baseball game and deliver audio commentary similar to what we hear from a human announcer?
Absolutely. I know of a application that I am using, and the debate between when Trump was debating Biden, it did real time fact checking. So it was the computer was watching the debate, and then when they were done, it did a real time fact check and put it up in a box. You can have it read stuff in real time. It can read back memos. It can create videos. It can pick out where the if there's a grid, it can learn the baseball diamond and understand where things actually are. Yep, that's already possible. Let's do a quick time check here. So at this point now, what we talked about is I demonstrated some of the capabilities of AI and how it actually can be used. Now, mind you, there's a whole science behind prompt engineering, and that is how we write the instructions. What you'll see is people say, "Oh, ChatGPT, I used it. It sucks. It didn't give me the response I wanted." And you give it a 3-word, you put in 3 words, and you expect it to know better. You can, and there's ways of doing this. Give it a persona. You are a Lean Six Sigma you're a Lean Six Sigma master black belt with expertise in statistics, right? So as soon as you start framing that, you're converging on what it is that you want it to do and how it can be trained. So there's this art of prompt writing that is just, you have to learn how to do it. It's not going to be perfect, but it's getting better. And ChatGPT in particular, with its newest release, is taking some of that magic out, and it's going to start asking you questions, right? So for instance, and I'll do. Are there any other questions before I move on, or in the chat?
No, nothing. Oh, wait a
There's
minute. Can AI be trained on business process and check over people's work for compliance to the procedure?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's a no-brainer. As a matter of fact, the IRS right now, believe it or not, I think they're the only federal agent. No, the VA is doing it as well. They have compliance checks, and they actually can track the clicks and the screen clicks to ensure people are following it correctly, and it will even raise flags if they went to the wrong screen or put the wrong data in. It will create an alert for them. Does that answer that question? Whomever asked that question.
Dan, would that
That's
take,
Michael.
would you have to
You
provide,
said yes, thank you.
would you have to provide the details for that? You'd have to establish records and record things about the process for it to data mine. I mean, it
Yep.
obviously needs something to feed off of.
Yep. So it knows it knows it can track the clicks, and it knows where you went within the system. So mind you, this is all trained on their existing policies and procedures, and it knows the screens. So it can create the decision tree of understanding where to go. Now remember, that same person that I told you that developed the app, that provided the fact check, and that developed the stock app, that person as well, his app now, you can do a Loom video of your process, right? If you're working, it's looking at your screen, and from that Loom video, it will write and automate the procedure and create an agent to do that work for you. There's this thing that's coming out right now, and they're very powerful. It's called agentic agents, and they're trained to do the work that people can do. So, for instance, if you get data, you're receiving data into, let's say, a healthcare claim center, an agent is automatically going to take that claim, identify the claim, check the policy numbers. It's going to look in its AI database. It can look at prior claims and make a determination of what to do with that. These agents are going to be, everyone is going to have personalized agents for their routine lives and for their work processes. No doubt about it. We good on that, folks? So that is just an example of some things. I was in the IBM, when I worked for IBM, I was in their strategy and change group, and we did formal strategies. Everyone will tell you, yes, 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 I'm a strategist, I'm a critical thinker, I'm all this great stuff, but we know that's not the case, right? It's like everyone's a master problem solver. So what I did is I said, we charged a fortune for doing a strategic assessment for an organization. So I wrote a prompt, a strategy prompt that is massive. It's, I want to say 3,000 words, right? So when you think people are putting in a sentence and complaining that they're not getting the right feedback, right? I have this very detailed prompt to do this incredible thing. I would like somebody to give me an industry, the industry they're in, and the country. This is where we need a. This isn't a standby, and this is a participation sport. Give me a particular industry, and
We actually have a suggestion here from Matt.
yeah,
Is there an AI database that is only accessible by U.S. citizens? Saying that because the company deals with explosives and warhead effectiveness, and asking questions about that on ChatGPT. Will it report him to the FBI? You know, embarrassing situation.
you can create and train your own bot to do so, but I'm pretty sure ChatGPT won't process that response.
Ah, interesting.
All right, so we have the automotive industry in the USA.
Yep.
We're going to go with that. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me go to my strategy bot. And what I'm going to put in here is I'm going to say analyze. Can you see this, folks? Analyze
Yes.
the automotive industry in the USA, right? So I'm just going to have it. I'm going to hit run. I'm going to let this bad boy run. And it's going to take a long time to run. Now, this does a strategic assessment like you've probably never done before. It's going to do a five forces analysis. It's going to do a pestle analysis. And we'll just let that run. It's going to run in the background. It's running. This again goes against Chat GPT, but I can make it go against any of the other large language models. So here it goes. It's generating this massive report. This report, if I were to print it out, would probably be about 30 pages long, right? Because it's doing almost every type of assessment that exists in the strategic planning world, and it's given recommendations. You can see it's running and so on. It's still going. And like I said, if I took it and dropped it into a Google Doc or something like that, it would be massive. So look at that output that it's generating. Is that not insane? And what I'll do is I'll copy and paste it and drop it into a Google document so you can see what it looks like. Sometimes the report is so massive that it won't, you have to hit continue to run. So let me do this. Let me create a new Google document here. Let me go back to my prompt, right? So I think you can see why I want to teach my black belts and green belts to use this. It's me standing over their shoulder, providing them guidance. It's me ensuring, helping them make sure they're asking the right questions and so on. Oh, not that. I want to go back to, let me move, get all these things open on my screen. Where am I over here? My pickaxe. I'm going to copy that over. This may not come over fantastically formatted. Nope. Let me do this. So right now it came over and it's called Markdown language. Let me see if I can reformat this. I think it's too much data to be formatted in one fell swoop. I would have to chunk it out. Let me do this here. Control A, Control V, A, Control C. Let me pop it back into that document here. And then you can get the idea of what it does. All right. Yep. So it reformatted it for us. So here it is. It's given us an industry breakdown by cars, by categories, what kind of vehicles there are, geographic regions. It's talking about the demographics and who are buying cars. We can get this demographic so specific that it'll make your hair stand up. It does a Porter's five forces analysis. It gives us some strategic recommendations around that. So this is the preliminary. now that we've done this, we can drill, you can constantly drill into this. It does a pestle analysis, which is the right way to do a strategic analysis, is that 5 forces model, and the pestle analysis, which stands for political factors, economic factors, societal factors, technology factors, legal factors, and environmental factors. It gives us the big picture of what's happening around us in this industry in the USA. And this can be blown out again into more detail. This is I can have it blow it out. It does a SWOT analysis, scenario planning. Many of you probably have never heard of scenario planning. It's a 20-year look ahead. What does this industry look like in 20 years? I have it trained only to do a 10-year look ahead. Blue ocean strategy. Everyone, that this is a buzzword in the strategic world. This does the formal blue ocean strategy analysis and so on. So that's one of the things, that's some of the things that we can do with these models. And once you have it trained and it understands what you're looking at, you can ask it more and more detailed questions, and it'll be honed in nicely on this product or service. Is this what Steve was looking for? It does a delta model analysis. Many people probably have never heard of that as well. And then you can see, come down here, it does a lean canvas. Many people like the lean canvas. What does that look like? Some recommendations and next steps. And it gives you a formal report out here, right? So I have it tweaked so that it doesn't do, how many pages? I'm not sure how many pages this one is here. Yeah, this is 13 pages. I've cut it down because it was just using so much computational power. It was costing.
Steve gave you a thumbs up.
All right, Steve. Thank you for that thumbs up. Now let's talk about automation. I think this is going to be a huge opportunity as we have these disparate systems. How do we tie them together? Remember, I told you earlier, I sell my training online. You can pay for my course online. And what it does is, of course, it goes into our CRM, but it created kind of an ugly receipt. I wanted to create a more custom receipt, which the system wasn't able to do. So I was able to create an automation that says, okay, here this customer signed up, reformat these fields, put the information in this CRM, in this database, drop it into a Google Sheet. So that's all automated. Within the Google Sheet, there's another automation that runs that once there's something new in that Google Sheet, it takes all that data. I created a Google Doc template. It populates the Google Doc template and then sends out emails to receipt with, hey, thank you. Here's your formal receipt. This is much nicer looking. Here's when your class, here's when the Greenbelt class begins, and so on. So let me show you. There's apps such as Zapier, Pabbly, Connexit, Make, and there's a newer slew of applications that will run these automations that can easily connect to systems and transfer data around. So I'm going to show you just one of my automations that I have in Connexit, which is just like Zapier, Pabbly. I'm not sure what you're familiar with, but this is an automation. It's a triggered event. Whenever I sell a product, right, it's bringing in this information from the product database. It's called using a webhook. It's taking that information and putting it into a Google Sheet for me. I have a Google Sheet set up, and it knows to add a new row. And here's all the information that it's putting in that Google Sheet for me. It knows my transaction numbers. It knows the class that was bought or what was ever paid for. It's putting you in one of my email databases. It's called Akumba Mail. So it's taking all that information and adding you to that contact list. And then it's adding you to another CRM system, which I have that does text messaging. All of them don't do everything, right? So we have these multiple databases, and it drops it into that database. So it saves me. Imagine if I had to manually do this every time. It would be a copy, a cut and paste, or we call it hand jamming. This saves me a tremendous amount of time, and I have the accuracy of the original input. There's no no transcription errors, right? In the past, somebody would say, "Hey, Dan, that I need a receipt that has your logo on it because where I paid it doesn't have your logo. Can you create one?" I would have to manually do some. So when we think about AI and automation, it gives us the benefit of advanced repeatability and reproducibility. Now, when we say repeatability and reproducibility, what does that mean? What does repeatability mean, folks? Well, if we do the same thing individually over and over again, we would get that same outcome. That's repeatability. Reproducibility means if I did a particular task and Tim did a particular task, we would do it the same way and get the same outcome. So when people say, "I'm afraid of AI and automation, it might make a mistake," well, guess what? Humans make mistakes too. Deming said 100% visual inspection only captures 80% of the defects. 87% of the defects. Well, guess what? At least if we're using AI and automation, it's going to consistently make the wrong mistake, making it easier for us to troubleshoot. So I told you all this data, this is automated. It updates all my systems, and then it goes into this database. I had to hide the names. So what it does, it puts you into this Google Sheet, right? It adds you to this Google Sheet. And when it does so, when there is a new record entered at the bottom of this Google Sheet here, a trigger is created where it says, take the data from this new record, put it in this Word document, there's placeholders in it, turn that Word document into a PDF file, save the Word document, save the PDF file, get the PDF file, and put it in this email template and email it. It does it all automatically. So just think about all the time and energy I just saved there. Now think about, project managers hate me when I start talking about this. Just think if we have all our activities and tasks in a project management system, we can go out there and call the due dates and check the dates. And if something's not done, the AI can do it for us automatically. It can be scheduled. At this time, go out and see what's going on, and then send a notice out to asking why this happened. Now the systems are getting so smart, it will know, hey, by the way, you said the same thing 2 weeks ago. What's the real deal here? Do we have to get a meeting together? And it will schedule the meeting for you with all these AI and automation. And that's using these
About
advanced
5 minutes to go, Dan. About 5 minutes, good to go.
5 minutes.
Yep.
Is there something that I've missed that someone wants to see or hear about?
There's so much.
We covered a lot of stuff.
Dan,
So
any
AI
good
is
sources or I don't know, people to follow, what sites to follow to help come up to speed on this?
it's changing so rapidly. You can go on YouTube and type in AI and automation and have it follow you. I've been updating and creating more and more videos on how to use AI and automation in the Lean Six Sigma world. So I'm going to be focused on, if you follow me on YouTube, I'm going to have AI, automation, analytics, and agents, right? Creating these agents, right? Because I think a lot of the work we do is non-value added and can be automated with these agents. And as I work through them, I'm going to be holding these videos, and it's even worth considering. This is going to be a great business opportunity for people who really understand processes and technology to help companies automate things. So just search for AI and automation, and you're going to find a bunch of fantastic YouTube videos out there about how to do it. And I want to leave you with this message. IBM, McKinsey, Booz Allen, these consulting firms have been getting together and discussing what, in the age of AI and automation, what are going to be the skills that are still going to be needed and required. And this plays beautifully into our hands. Critical thinking is going to be a skill that is still needed. Just think about the prompts that you're writing and things like that. It's going to require critical thinking. And that critical thinking is probably one of the most skills that people lie about having the most. I can ask 5 questions and determine if someone's a critical thinker or not. Complex problem solving, the ability to do complex problem solving, is the next greatest skill that is always going to be in demand. The next skill is data literacy, and that includes statistical thinking. So right away, right out of the gate, critical thinking, complex problem solving, data literacy are the skills that aren't going away. Data analysis is the next one. Even though we're going to be able to automate a lot of it, having the ability to do data analysis is going to be critical with those other skills. Innovation is going to be yet again another skill. How can people innovate and use these AI and automation tools to our advantage? And of course, the last one, which is the one that people claim to have the most, yet they don't, is the strategic thinking and strategic acumen, similar to what you just saw my chat GPT develop. We can break that out. So if you're thinking about AI is going to take my job, automation is going to take my job, well, guess what? Unfortunately, for a lot of people, that might be the case, but there's going to be opportunities. And I think you need to get on board right now, develop your critical thinking skills. That's what I've been focused on and helping people do. Your complex problem solving, your data literacy and statistical thinking. That goes together. Data analysis, innovation, structured innovation using this technology and AI. And of course,
We have
strategic thinking will never go away.
we have a question from Todd. If there was one thing to focus on with regards to AI learning, what would you suggest and why?
I would suggest learning how to write a good prompt to get the response you're looking for. AI is everyone needs to remember computer programming, garbage in, garbage out. The better you can define what it is that you want to do and you understand it. Just don't write a prompt that says, give me a strategic assessment of the automotive industry in the United States, right? There's a lot there. That my prompt is 3,000 words. You have to be able to understand what is your goal and break it down so that the AI can understand it. Be very clear about the parameters.
Well, that sounds like a good future follow-up, Dan.
Yep.
Is
The
writing
prompt
prompts.
engineering is still going to be huge.
Yeah.
What is
All right.
your YouTube channel?
OpEx 90.
Okay.
Just OpEx. Okay. Well, Dan, thank you once again. Lots of information, lots to think about here. We'll continue this journey with Dan from time to time. But again, thank you all for coming on. We're just about at the bottom of the half hour here. So I will send out the RUs to you. But certainly you'll be able to get to the website, get to the recording, get to Dan's presentation and follow up with Dan if you'd like to do that. Again, if there's any suggestions for programs, let us know. And otherwise, have a great weekend. We appreciate you attending today. And Dan, thank you very much for your...
Tim, one more comment here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really encourage you to think about change management and your approach. It's going to be very uncomfortable for people, this AI and automation, and how it's going to really change a lot of people's jobs. Embrace it. I always say leverage AI or AI is going to leverage you out. And I think if there's anything that's going to widen the gap between the haves and have-nots, AI is going to hammer middle management hard. So think about embracing this and using it to your advantage.
Yeah, well said. All right, you're getting good accolades.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dan. And good day, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Awesome, Dan.